Hello, sleepy friends. It's been a rough couple of months. I haven't been able to get much out in the way of anything, so this recently just came up like a couple days ago and I just felt super motivated to put it together, so I'm really happy that I had the energy and strength to do that. Still dealing with my skin issue. It's still a little weird, and my neck, and I'm still getting like creepies from tags and stuff, but I have 2 weeks to go on the medicine and my skin is looking a nice color, so we'll see what happens. Somebody tagged me in a post this week about arguing. They were lamenting about how they have to sleep when they argue. And so, as this is something that I've delved into before and found a little workaround, I decided to do a video about it. So if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm all about the coping. My website is goingbeyondcoping.com, and I really believe that it doesn't matter what's wrong with you. You can find a way to keep going beyond coping into thriving and even loving your life. A lot of people have trouble with that, and I think that having chronic illness, we have a tendency to hide our happy sometimes, because if you look happy, then people think you're better. And I mean better by like well. And you don't want to give false impressions that you've recovered, because a lot of people don't understand chronic illness is forever. So take a look inside yourself and see, is that something that you do? Do you portray a sad and depressed demeanor because you need people to have the proper empathy for your condition? Only you know for sure. I wrote this all up today. Usually when I do a video, I spend a couple of days making notes and writing and rewriting, and it helps me remember the syntax of how I want to present it. But not having that kind of time lately, guys. The prednisone gives me terrible insomnia. I'm up for hours every night and not always getting that sleep deficit corrected during the day. So I don't have the same processing power that I normally do. So I'm going to be looking down a lot and reading my notes, and you're just going to have to deal with it. If you want to keep listening. If not, hey, I'll see you another time. So today I want to talk about 5 rules of arguing with narcolepsy. Not arguing with narcolepsy, the disease, but arguing while you have narcolepsy, because it is different arguing with narcolepsy than it is not having it. So as you know, I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. These are all just observations and things that I've done in my own life, and you can listen to my story and pull out of it anything you might find valuable and then find your own way. Everything has to go through the you filter in order for it to be effective. Everyone who's labeled with the diagnosis of narcolepsy has that in common, but that's where it ends. Everything else after that is individualistic to the max, from meds, symptoms, everything. Let's see. To me, going beyond coping is really, it's the biggest part of managing chronic illness. The way you feel up here is 10 times more important than the way you feel in the rest of your body, regardless of medication, symptoms, whatever. You can have a good time in your head no matter what's going on, and a lot of people are afraid to believe that, but it's the truth. And happy matters. Happy fuels wakefulness, and the happier you can keep yourself, the more wakeful you'll be. Am I still sleeping? Yes, because happy doesn't fix narcolepsy. It just makes you give a crap less, about certain things. You just start giving up those concerns and rolling with things a lot more often. So the phrase, "it's all in your head," has been a real big topic of my research. I always hated that phrase, and I think a lot of people do. When I say it's all in your head, I don't mean your illness is psychosomatic. I mean what's going on in your head is affecting your illness. What is in your head, literally, is what causes your illness. So technically for us, it is all in our head. You have a lack of hypocretin, orexin, that makes you sleepier and unable to regulate your wake-sleep cycles. And that is all in your head. So my goal has been to teach myself how to think better. And I think I've done a pretty good job about it. So arguing is something I was never good at. I'd shake, yell, sleep, repeat. Just exhausting. Like one argument could keep me in bed for days. And I used to be a very angry person for a bucket full of reasons, none of which are even relevant anymore. But it took me a long time to realize not all the things I was mad about were real. Like a lot of them were just exaggerations in my brain, and they were my brain misinterpreting things. What I heard, what I saw, yeah. So after many years of working on it, I was able to alter my personality from strike first, think later. Yeah, we won't go there. But yeah, so now I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care as much in a sense of, I don't let things bother me as much anymore. At all, really, for the most part. So I wanted to do a video about how I changed the way that I argue to be more effective and less about blowing up bridges and being right and more about salvaging the relationship, because relationships are all about finding common ground with each other, and an argument is our ground is not even, and you need to make it even one way or another. So why do we want to learn how to argue better? Well, if learning how to argue better keeps you from losing 50 hours a year sleeping off a fight, ain't that worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. Every little bit of time you can get back to yourself is worth it. Dr. Rebecca Spencer, professor at the University of Massachusetts Department of Psychology, says you can be driven to sleep simply by having a lot of emotional memories to process. Naps are the brain's administrative assistant. When you're taking your nap, it's filing everything where it needs to be. And I personally think that's why I would shut down during the argument, is because I had so many things bombarding my brain at the same time. My brain needed to sort them all out. So it's like, you know what? We're just going to go down here for a little while and rest. And you had to go along whether you wanted to or not. Let's see. It takes sleep to provide the space needed to sift through the day's experiences and make permanent those that matter. So I came up with 5 rules for arguing. Once you learn to implement these rules, you'll find your arguments may be more effective and less damaging. Both you and the person you're arguing with. It's going to take some work on your part. It may take a while to accomplish, but if you stick with it, it will become easier as you go. So, rule number 1. On a scale of irrational toddler to get off my lawn, old man, establish how angry you are. So for me, I would feel it. I would physically be angry. I would feel like full of anger. Like it was oozing out of me. I couldn't. I just violently angry at times. And it seemed justifiable in the moment, always. You know, someone woke me up, was usually, I was like the Hulk if you woke me up a lot of the times. And that's all going on inside your brain. Here, let's see. First, let's take a look at why we get so darn mad. The part of the brain affected in causing narcolepsy the part of the brain that's affected by narcolepsy, is a part of the hypothalamus, however you say that, which is responsible for regulating your hunger, thirst, response to pain, levels of pleasure, anger, aggressive behavior, and more. It also regulates the functioning of the autonomic nervous system, which in turn means it regulates things like pulse, blood pressure, breathing, and arousal in response to emotional circumstances. So that's all going on in the center of your brain that's been damaged by narcolepsy. They're also referred to as our primitive or innate responses. We have them from birth. This is where you get the fight or flight response from. So how mad are you? Are you just annoyed? Because I get annoyed. Everybody gets annoyed. Or are you having a physical response? You're so angry. Are you shaking, breathing, funny? If you want to have an effective argument, which is defined as a positive outcome for both parties, you need to make sure you're rational enough to have an argument at all. And only you know that. No one else can decide that for you if you're in the right mental frame of mind to argue with somebody. Are you still in fight mode? Can you be calm? If not, you can't. Period. This is one of the most important aspects of managing relationships with people. If you're furious, you're just going to make it worse. There's no way to resolve something when you're furious. It just doesn't happen. Now, once you've identified your level of anger, you've made a conscious assertion of how angry you are on a scale of toddler temper tantrum to get off my lawn, old man, you're going to deal with rule number 2. Rationalize with your tired brain. Rationalization. The action. I can't read backwards and upside down. I'm good, but I'm not that good. The action of attempting to explain or justify behavior or an attitude with logical reasons, even if these are not appropriate. And it says up here, look, this is a good one to remember. Remember this. In fact, find it on the internet, print it out, and stick it somewhere where you can look at it when you're so mad you don't know what to do with yourself. Anger is only one letter short of danger. And anytime you're angry, you're in danger of damaging your relationships in sometimes an irreparable way. Okay, we can get really mad. I know, been there, done that, like a lot. So what worked for me? Shutting up. Stop talking. Just stop talking. Stop thinking. Stop talking. It's not going to do you any good. Let's see, this becomes easier once you're able to realize that your brain on its own may be unable to regulate your anger. Many people, not just people with narcolepsy, just go to sleep after a stress response. For me, I would just ask myself the question, why you mad, bro? One of those memes that stuck in my head. Why you mad? Most of the time when I asked, I was able to realize that I was seriously overtired, that I just woke up. Oh my God, the just waking up anger is the strongest one. Fight or flight, for sure. I'm ready to fight. I'm taking it down. Yeah. Okay. I was more mad than the situation called for. And if you have narcolepsy, I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure it's happened for you at least once. At that point, I'd have a nice big glass of shut the up, and I would just seriously just be quiet. So at that point, I had to get to a neutral place to where the anger dissipated. Now, noticing something happens, you notice, something happens, you notice, and then every now and again you decide to slip something in the middle there and try and make what you notice different. And that's what I did with my anger. I would try to talk to people when I was angry, and nothing comes out nicely. My husband's waiting for my head to start spinning around and blood to come from my eyes. I mean, it's really bad. And look at me, I don't look like an angry person. So I use that rationalization. All right, You're happy 97.97% of the time. And right now, you're like a crazy person who should be committed. So I stop and I just be quiet. And I know that the feeling's going to pass. I know within 5-10 minutes, if it even takes that long, that that I'm feeling is going to calm down. I'm going to relax. My brain's going to be like, oh, we're not being attacked by aliens. It's just a normal life. We don't have to have this heightened sense of defensiveness. We can chill. We can relax. Everything's fine. You okay? You okay? You okay? Tell myself that all the time. Okay, let's see. So then you take the time to stop being mad. Don't argue when you're angry, when you have that inside of you. It's not good. Okay, rule number 3. You must become an island and know yourself. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle said that. That was a long time ago. So there must be something to it if it's been around this long, right? You must become an island. I love that song, Sarah Bareilles. When will you realize you must become an island? This concept came to me after examining lifelong feelings of abandonment, only to be disowned by my firstborn child. In quiet reflection, I came to the realization that we only have ourselves as a constant. People will come and go, but the only character required for your life story is you. You're an island. People come and visit you, but you live there alone always. Once you can be comfortable with that, being chill, this is it. This is the way that life works. You get a house to live in and you inhabit it and no one else knows what's going on in there besides you. Arguments lose a little bit of their power when you realize that you can let go of those feelings of clinginess. You're able to see that even though the hurricane may come, everything on the island might take a hit, but the island remains. One of the most important things in relationships is boundaries. Setting them and holding them insistently and at all costs. Boundaries are not something that's taught in school. I didn't learn them until well into my 40s. Yeah, I was old when I learned about boundaries for the first time. You mean I can say no? I had no idea that I could say no. But yeah, you can. Let's see. Where am I? Oh yeah, lack of knowledge is almost a crime nowadays. There's no reason you should ever say, I don't know. You can find out now. You can find out just about anything on the internet. It's free to learn and go learn about boundaries. There's tons of articles and videos and all kinds of stuff. Brene Brown's great content on boundaries on YouTube and really good for you to learn. Another great way to learn about boundaries is by Googling protecting yourself as an empath. Whether or not you define yourself as an empath, having sleep deprivation for such an extended period of time leaves you in the same emotional place as an empath in terms of your tiredness making you more sensitive to things, emotional things. So protecting yourself as an empath will give you some coping tips for managing stress and toxic people and just learning how to deal with those things to keep them out of your little happy bubble. Okay, I'm doing a companion piece to this on my blog. Essentially just the same thing that I'm doing here. And I'm going to turn on the subtitles after I record it, so you should be seeing text along the bottom. So if you want to read an article about boundaries, I shared it on my blog post at goingbeyondcoping.com. And I called it 5 Rules of Arguing with Narcolepsy, and it's in there. Let's see, knowing yourself is probably the most effective coping tool for chronic illness. Self-awareness keeps you from accepting the labels or assigns of others. Just because someone else says you're lazy does not make you lazy. It's just their perception of you. It's not you. When you know who you are and what you're all about, anyone's opinions on the matter are pretty much irrelevant. They don't know you, and they can't, but you do and you can. So carefully consider the other person, but never to the detriment of yourself. You're the only character required for your life story. A lot of people confuse self-care and ego. And if you use the airplane analogy, that will help you. The stewardess always says, in the event of trouble, put on your oxygen mask first and then help other people. And that's the way you should live your life, especially if you're dealing with chronic illness. You put on your self-care first and then you help other people. Okay, rule number 4, empathy. Once you're more in control, seriously consider the other person's motivations, words, and actions from their perspective. This is a big deal. I like this little graphic here too. Oftentimes people just misunderstand each other, and unless you clear that up, you're never going to get around that. Arguments are about feelings. Someone's feelings got hurt, and that's why you're arguing most of the time. Something happened that left one of the parties feeling a certain way and they're unhappy about it. So listen through what they're trying to say. Find out what it is that they're really unhappy about. Figure out what they want and figure out if you can give it to them. Many times we can't give it to them. We can't add more wakefulness or coping. I mean, we can work toward that, but it's not something that we can fix like that. And we can't manufacture time that we don't have. It's just not possible. The bottom line is people don't typically fight just for the heck of it, unless they have narcolepsy and they're angry. And then they fight just to fight. But we're talking about other people who are arguing with us. So we're disseminating that information. If you want to have a good relationship with the person that you're arguing with, you really got to dig deep for this one, okay? If someone says you're lazy, okay, they obviously have a need that's not getting met. So find out what their need is, and if you can't give it to them, maybe you can give them something else, right? Like I can't mow the lawn because that's too exhausting for me, but I'd be happy to fold all the clothes. Compromise, find out what they need, and then see if there's a way to give it to them or to give them something else, a consolation prize, whatever. Okay, let's see. Many of us, oh no, this is the next rule. Okay, rule number 5, and I'm sure you've heard this one before. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You choose one. Now, sometimes we're happy that we're right, but if you have to choose one or the other, happy matters. Happy helps you with your wakefulness and your symptoms, and it's more important than being right. And when you're an island, you don't care if other people feel that you're right because you know what's going on in there. So you know you're right. You don't need other people to know it. You just don't care if they believe you or not because you know you. That's why it's so strong, so powerful to know yourself. Okay, let's see. Many of us can focus on the wrong thing, like winning an argument or being right. The focus of every argument should be ending it so you can go back to being happy. Often when my husband gets mad at me, it's because something I said came out of my mouth funny. I don't always speak correctly. My words sometimes get jumbled. A lot of people with narcolepsy have that problem. They call things by the wrong name, or they say words backwards or something like that. So with my husband, what I did with him was, look, I love you more than anything. And I would never, ever intentionally say something just to hurt your feelings. It's not in my character. I don't like to inflict pain on people. It's not something I strive for in any way, shape, or form. So if I said something that's leaving you feeling like I was being mean or intentionally trying to hurt your feelings, it didn't come out right, or you heard it wrong. So give me the opportunity to correct it, and then, we can move on from there. But being able to say, I didn't mean it that way, is a very powerful thing. And unless you can get down to the truth of why the person is unhappy, you can't resolve things, help them resolve things for themselves, because really you're not fixing their problems for them. They have to do it for themselves. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, sometimes I have to remind him that I have chronic illness because I'm a Wonder Woman. I mean, rocking it when I'm awake. And I look good, you look good. Hey, look in the mirror. You do not look like you have a chronic illness. I don't care what you look like. You don't look like you have a chronic illness. And no one, without knowing you, would automatically be able to say, oh, look at that girl. She looks like she has narcolepsy. Even if you're sleeping, they wouldn't be able to say that, to be honest. So I just have to remind him, hey, look, I'm always giving you my best. Whatever you're getting out of me is the best I have to give you. So if you feel like I'm not giving enough, it's because I don't have any more to give. Whatever's available is yours. And that's it. I'm tapped out. And I used to be one of those people who push, and it damn near killed me. And I just, like 7 or 8 years ago, just stopped. I just stopped. I started putting my needs first. I stopped overextending myself physically, mentally, my time, my energy, everything, and put self-care ahead of everything else and rebuilt my life. And it was the smartest thing I ever did. Let's see. Oh yeah, if you ever feel bad that you have to remind people that you have a chronic illness, I've had narcolepsy for 38 years and I still say sometimes, God, why am I so tired? Like I totally forget that I have narcolepsy on a regular basis. I have no idea how it happens considering I take 2 scheduled naps every single day. But I do. I get in that flow where I feel amazing and I have great clarity and strength. And I wish that I could just freeze exactly what I did to make that happen so that I could feel like that all the time, because it really is amazing. But it's never more than an hour or 2 a day in spurts. So yeah, I forget. I get worn out, and why am I so tired? What did I do? Oh yeah, I was born. I was born and I got sick. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Look to resolve the argument, not win it. Islands don't care if they win. They just want to keep standing. And here's a bonus rule. Mean what you say what you mean, but don't say it mean. That's a big one because a lot of people like to say things mean just to hurt the other person, thinking that that helps them win the argument. But all that does is burn your bridges down. It's not a good idea. And I like this quote from Paulo Coelho. It says, don't say maybe if you want to say no. I personally had to practice a lot of this stuff before I could ever really do it for real. And I would read about a concept of something, and then I would overcome my fear of failing at the concept, and I would just try it. And whatever happened in the outcome, I would roll with it from there. So I did it assuming it would work. And then when it did work, I felt more comfortable to keep doing it over and over again. And then it became normal for me. So let's see. This is huge, but 6 rules didn't seem exciting. So it's a bonus rule. Yeah, because I did 5 rules. A bonus rule. My husband is in the kitchen. You're on video, babe. Very often people say things they don't mean. I was in a relationship with someone who would hurl accusations at me. I would dig deep and think for days, God, what does that mean? And what did I do? And what should I be doing? And I come up with all sort of arguments about it. And then I would go back and say, so the other day when you said, I was blah, blah, blah. I want to talk about that. And then only to hear them say, oh, I didn't mean that. I was just mad. What? How do you say things that you don't mean? It's like one of the worst things to ever do to a person. Don't ever do it. Just say what you mean and mean what you say. And don't say things you don't mean. It's so bad. And I wasted all the time, energy. Like, I'm a problem solver. I'm a thinker. It's what I do. And to present someone with something you don't mean and have them struggle to try and solve the puzzle is really nothing short of cruel. I don't have a lot of time. And neither do other people, you know? So just be frank, be honest. It's hard to be honest because you have to open yourself up for that. But the more honest you are, the less you have to think about anything. I mean, the truth always just rolls right out of your mouth. The lie is what you have to think about. Okay, let's see. Oh, and if you're the one saying mean things, you must excuse yourself. Don't do that. Don't abuse your partner because you can't control your hypothalamus. Just do it. Let's see. Oh, another great thing that helps me is to say everything doesn't have to happen right now. So a lot of times when I would argue with my husband, I felt like it needed to be resolved immediately. And that's something that you have to rationalize with. Remember that other rule. You rationalize yourself. It does not have to be solved right this second. Now, if you're arguing about the best way to leave the house while it's on fire, then yeah, fix that now. But most arguments can probably wait an hour or two for calm down or think around or, whatever it is. Sometimes I tell him, look, I'm in Hulk mode. He understands that. He's a huge fan of the comics. I have like my hair in this bag because it tickles the heck out of my skin. Oh, goodness. All right, we're almost done here. So I just tell him, look, my brain's not working right. My hypothalamus isn't regulating. I can't bring my anger down, and I'm just going to go away for a little while and chill. And anybody who can't accept that, that's on them. Self-care. Take care of yourself first. You have to. Because if you don't, you can end up blowing up all your relationships, and that sucks. Dun-dun-dun. Oh, another good thing to do is to say, I hear what you're, like before you leave to go excuse yourself to chill, you can acknowledge what their deal is. Like, look, I hear what you're saying. You're feeling this. I want to discuss this with you, but right now my brain's not working right. Never be afraid to say that. You have a neurological issue. It's the truth. Give me a minute to pull myself together, and then we will talk about this. Let the other person know that they're important and that their issue is important and a resolution to their issue is important. And then just take some time for yourself. It'll be a lot healthier for all of you if you do that. Oh, this was from a little PowerPoint presentation that I found. It says, fight or flight are hardwired emergency responses. These parts of the brain hold powerful emotional responses that are affected. The parts surrounding the area develop as the brain develops, and they manage these primitive responses. While being affected in the sense of changed, they're areas that can repair. This is why children who are still growing rapidly appear to improve more quickly. But there's hope for you yet. So what I got out of that, and what I've got out of some of the other reading that I've done, is that you can train your brain to do certain things. Conditioning helps a lot with that. Doing the same thing over and over the same way every time helps a lot with that. But what it's saying is by practice, like I was talking about, you learn about a concept, you practice it, and then it becomes normal for you. That's literally changing your brain physically. So those are the areas where, you need that improvement. So anytime that you can make changes and grow as a person are good things. Wow, I'm over a half hour. Blah, 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 blah. These are kind of deep videos. I know that, and I know they're long, and they're not concepts that can be conveyed in 10 minutes. So feel free to listen as often as you need to, listen to it in spurts, whatever. You can go to the website and read it if you would rather. Again, that's goingbeyondcoping.com. I make these videos because there's no manual on chronic illness and living with it in terms of coping skills, right? Like they have meditate and read books and stuff, but it really just doesn't get into the nitty gritty like I needed it to. Like these would have been so helpful for me 20 years ago to be able to listen to these things. So I hope that they're benefiting you. It benefits me just to write them and reiterate them. It's like a reinforcement. So I'm happy to do them. I've started a daily dose of positivity list that I'd really love to see grow. It's an email that you'll get in your inbox every morning with a song or a quote or a musing or a coping skill or whatever my brain feels like barfing out onto the, little MailChimp thing to go. Yeah, I'll put a link to sign up in the caption of this video. Or you can just go to my website, which is thegoingbeyondcoping.com, and search Daily Dose, and it will probably come up. You can unsubscribe anytime. I'm not selling your information to anybody. It's just for my own sending out the emails. And if you put your address and your birthday, I will send you a handwritten birthday card on your birthday, because who doesn't love that, right? What else? For YouTube, people on YouTube, I do have a page on Facebook called Positively Narcolepsy, and there's a companion group that goes with that, a Positively Narcolepsy group, and it's a positive group. It's like specifically only positive group, so people can come ask for help with particular symptoms. Examples, coping with night terrors, coping with driving, coping with meds, those kind of things, and sharing funny stories. We play stupid games and just have a good time encouraging each other. So if you're in need of that, be sure to answer the questions when you join, or your request will be deleted. What else? I think that's it for now. I'm going to post this first time on my Positively Narcolepsy page, and then I'll put it over onto YouTube. So it's the same video on YouTube. But if you haven't subscribed, that helps me get more exposure to help more people. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel Going Beyond Coping, and make sure you like and follow the Positively Narcolepsy page. And the more that this grows, the more people it can help. And like the video, because that helps more people see it too. That's it. Thank you so much. And don't argue when you're mad.